Hey, what's going on, Off 199 fans? It's your boy MusiqNerd, and we're about to have a quick minute with MusiqNerd. Or really not a quick minute. We're going to go into the state of the fandom. Yes, the state of the fandom. I've been waiting a while to do this kind of wrap up on UM's state of the fandom, and then because I was waiting for what was supposed to be a special event, what was supposed to be something special that was supposed to happen yesterday, but never materialized. And so I'm going to give you two state of the fandoms here. I'm going to give you a state of the fandom right now, and then I'm going to give you a state of the Miami Heat fandom right now. One is high, one is low, as you can tell. And to quote Josh Pate, we start off with winners here. So let's start off with the Miami Hurricanes. Okay, let's get to it. Well, actually, it was funny. Came across my timeline the 4 year anniversary of my debut doing Off 199th with Jay and Ajak. My actual first episode was with my two brothers instead of me, Jay, and Dap, which is how it was originally supposed to be. So what was funny is that I went back and I listened to it, and we talked about what Miami needed to do to get to the place that Georgia had just been, because Georgia had just won their second consecutive national championship. And we were like, what does Miami need to do? We joked around about it, about the talent that needed to be given, a lot of stuff. But when it came down to it, all of us had the same thing. And Jay was the one who said this first. It was trenches based. The offensive line, the defensive line had to be better. And Miami at that point had some good defensive linemen, had some stray things out there, but they never put it together. And to see where they have come in the last 4 years is impressive, to say the least. Um, let's start off with the year Mario was hired. There's a lot of excitement in the building because of what Tyler Van Dyke had done the year before. And you look at it and you're like, hey, even Jay, he predicted that Miami was going to go to the playoff and win the ACC for the first time. I was not as optimistic. I did think Miami had a manageable schedule. But for me, I think that I wasn't looking at the roster the way that I should have. And when you take a look at that roster and what happened that year, you see it. Middle Tennessee State happened, and so many other things happened. That Texas A&M game happened. There was, even though that team wasn't really as good as you like to think, you only scored 9 points, even though you get into the red zone 4 times, and basically to control that game. You could see it then that there's a talent there, but you needed more. You needed more beef on the line. You needed a lot of more things. So we go through that year. People were calling for his head already because of Middle Tennessee State. But what becomes clear, and one thing that I think people were blaming, he had to kind of put on Manning. One thing we had to put on Manning, there was a lack of talent. He wasn't lying about it. That's one thing I would say about Cristobal. Cristobal has been very honest throughout this whole thing. But like I said, when you lose by 2 touchdowns to Middle Tennessee State, you don't have Power Four talent because, like I've said over and over time, talent shines through. So we get to 23, and we start off great. Now this is good to get to the point. This is one thing too. Cristobal has had Miami ranked in the top 15 at least once for 4 straight years. It's been a long time since we can say that with Miami, and it's because of how quickly he has been able to turn things around. 23, we talked about 23. I think it was a what could have happened year. Not as much so as what the next year we're going to talk about. But the thing is, if Van Dyke doesn't get hurt, or honestly, if we get competent play after the midway point, Miami is probably a 10-win team. They don't lose to NC State. They have more of a chance in that Florida State game. What's another game? Oh, the Georgia Tech game. Yeah, you don't lose the Georgia Tech game, the NC State game, Florida State game. You turn over your 10-2. You can maybe keep the North Carolina loss and what was the other loss? Whatever. You probably keep on other things, but Miami's probably on there because what happens the next year is we see it. We get Cam Ward. The narrative changes because Miami goes into the swamp and absolutely destroys Florida. No matter what people want to tell you, no matter what Florida fans want to tell you, Miami absolutely dominated that game. There's no, if we would have played y'all, no, Miami was the better team, and you could see it. And that changed the narrative, and that changed the expectation because of the lack of competition that was on that schedule, especially with Florida State absolutely dropping a dump that year. And I will talk a little bit about the state of Florida State when it comes to the state of Miami, but like I said, winners first. So Miami goes 10-2. Miami should have gone 12-0. Were two scores short of going 12-0, and should have won the ACC championship game. And in my mind, I think they could have beat either SMU or Clemson, even with as bad as that defense was. So you get a much more positive, but another what if year because you waste a Heisman level campaign from Cam Ward. And if you're saying, oh, but he only finished fourth, he had better numbers than the Heisman winner this year. So yeah, it was a Heisman level campaign from one of the best quarterbacks in the nation. You waste that, and so then you come to this year, and that's really what I'm going to talk in depth about. The expectations were there. But you think you take, but there are people who think you take a step back. I know that Josh was like looked at us when we said we thought there was a playoff caliber team. Josh was like, you lost a Heisman caliber quarterback. How could you really think that? You go through it and you see some things, and then you hear what people are saying about this team. You hear what people are saying about this squad, and one thing that was reported, this is the best squad since '04. The last time Miami had gone to a BCS Bowl or a big one. Really, when it comes to this, is one of the last time, like basically one of the last times that Miami truly competed for a national championship. This was the best roster that they had. And then you go out, and then the Notre Dame game happens. First off, the main thing we're eager to see how Beck works with this offense. The thing is, what you remember is how great this offensive line is, and then that is just shown in the Notre Dame game. I know the Notre Dame game is close. I know people has made the argument that Notre Dame was only 4 points away from being undefeated. That's true, but if you look back at the Notre Dame game, Miami dominated that game. Miami took their foot off the gas, but that's one thing that they had to learn, and that's one thing that's prevalent that I want to say. Mario Cristobal has learned throughout this entire season. There's a reason why Miami has improved their win total each season. It starts at the top. Mario Cristobal has learned how to navigate the ACC. He has learned how to navigate the national stage. So that's one thing he had to learn this year. So he took his foot off the gas a little bit against Notre Dame, and then, but still, you get the win. You move on. You start off 5-0. Impressive wins, 3 ranked wins, and the ranked wins were all pretty dominant wins. But there's that inkling, because I was at the Florida State game, that fourth quarter, you have that inkling. That's why we weren't really, me and my brother Austin, who were at the games, we weren't sitting there rah 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 and everything. We didn't like how they finished, and that spilled over into the Louisville game. If you look at it, if you did the math like I did, Miami gave up, I think this is probably their worst thing of the season, 33 straight points without scoring anything in a back-to-back game stretch. And maybe that doesn't sound too bad because it's back-to-back games, but the thing is, it shows a lack of focus. It shows a lack of discipline. And when you're a championship-level team, that occurs. And the thing is, too, the way Miami is built, you're not built to give up 33 points no matter what, even if it's in 2 games and come back from it scot-free. And it didn't. You throw 4 interceptions against Louisville. You give a very opportunistic coach, a very good coach, 4 extra chances. And even though you only lost by 3, you lose that game. And then, of course, you absolutely maul Stanford, but it's not like you play well. This was probably the 7-quarter stretch here. It's probably the worst of the season for Miami. And then you have another 3-quarter stretch there in the SMU game, which you also lose. And now you're looking at a 6-2, and those old things start to creep back up. Everything creeps back up. People are talking about this. You have Joe and Racino. Joe's like, Mario Cristobal's a fraud. This and that. This and that. You hear all the negativity that's coming, and then you hear all the negativity from your rivals too. You hear Florida State and Florida fans talking, "No, we knew you weren't that good. We knew you weren't that good." Well, I mean, if we weren't that good, what does it say that we've beaten y'all by a combined score of 134 to about 81? Yeah, 134. Sorry, not 81. I apologize. That's way too much points. All right, so hold on. 36 for Florida State. It's been 67-36 against Florida State. And then it has been 68 versus 24 against Florida. So that is, oh yeah, we've been kind of killing them. So anyway, we digress. But you hear that noise, and then all of a sudden it becomes the first CFP comes out, and even though it should be less biased, it follows the AP thing, and the AP has you at 18th. You got 4 games to go, 2 of them on the road against. And 4 of them against quality. All of them have good coaches, good things, except for maybe Virginia Tech and everything. But, Pittsburgh is looming. And, for Miami fans, Pittsburgh looming on the last weekend in a November game in a success season is like giving you nightmares. But you got to get through Syracuse first. Syracuse, no matter what Syracuse wants to say, Syracuse is easy. But there's a switch in that Syracuse game, and that's why I bring it up. Miami was playing tight, and they had played tight against SMU, and that's the reason why I felt they lost. But then you loosen it up. You get a couple of trick plays. You get Carson Beck in the end zone on a throwback. You get Mally Noah a touchdown because he deserves it. And all of a sudden, everything just clicks. The next 3 games, you absolutely destroy quality competition. Much more talented teams than what Syracuse was. And all 3 of those opponents they had played against, except for Virginia Tech. 3 of these 4 opponents had played it against Notre Dame, and you this is stuff again, even though you didn't really have to because you had already beaten Notre Dame. And we make it clear that you're better than Notre Dame. So you make it clear that you're in the playoff. But you have to sweat it out. The conference championship weekend. And, I got to be honest. I didn't know. I posted a podcast on here. I wasn't sure what was going to happen. I was not sure if Miami was going to get in until the 5th hour there. The 25th hour. And even then, with what happened, everything broke right on conference championship Saturday for us. But the last weekend did not break right for us. We needed a lot more chaos when we got it. But BYU got destroyed. Alabama got destroyed. You needed that. And then so you have the hope that people finally put you right next to Notre Dame and you finally can see, okay, what is this seeing? What are you seeing here? And finally did the right thing. For what I think it's worth, I do think Alabama did not deserve it. I think Notre Dame should have been in, but I do digress from that. But that's the only thing I would change about the top 12. The other ones had earned it as far as I'm concerned. BYU fans can get mad at me. Notre Dame fans, of course, can get mad at me, saying we do y'all. But the thing is, Notre Dame, when it comes down to it, you had a 2-game season. You had an extra week to prepare for the second game. So there's really nothing much you can say. You had your own fate in your hands, and the thing is too, I feel no sympathy for you because all you got to do is be ranked 12th with a terrible schedule, again. So I digress. Get into the playoffs, and then Miami shows the nation what it is and what it's been. To Texas A&M, to Ohio State, to Ole Miss, even to Indiana, Miami I think shows that Miami is a team that's ready to go and ready to stay, but you fall short. And then the next week you hear it all from everybody about even though Indiana has been beating the crap out of people, beat their 2 playoff opponents by a combined score of, hold on, I need to make sure I get this math right because this math is absolutely ridiculous. 91-26. You hold them to their season low in yards. You hold them to one of their season low in points. You manhandle them. You outgain them. You get more first downs than they did. But the thing is, in the end, in the clutch plays, they made the clutch plays. Miami did not. So even though Miami was able to keep it close, even though Miami had the ball, was 41 yards away from a national title, you fall short. And then you hear it from everybody. You hear the bull crap about Mark Fletcher, which I hope everyone's on the same page now that Dick decided to make fun of his dead father and got what he deserved. I'm not going, and I digress from that. I'm not going to speak on it again because that's just ridiculous. You get all the rhetoric about Indiana being this, Indiana being that, and then but when it comes down to it, what I think is going to matter more to me, especially since I run this channel, and this channel is about South Florida sports. Miami's here to stay because the next week you get Darian Mensah, the one who had the second best numbers in the nation as far as touchdowns and yards. You get his best receiver, Cooper Barkate. You get a great edge rusher out of Missouri. Number three, get in the portal. You reload and you keep your running backs. You keep Pringle. You keep Lyle, which I think is huge for what you're trying to do here. What it shows is that you have the culture to keep your players, and it also shows that you have the culture to go get players. Players going to be here to win. Malachi Tony stays. Malachi Tony helps you recruit Cooper Barkate. It helps you recruit Darian Mensah. Just like Mark Fletcher helped you recruit Damian Martinez last year. Then you have Fletcher saying, hey, I'm coming back from my senior year to running back. And now you got a couple of top 10 picks in Ruben Bang and Maui going out. And now you have to replace them. And Messidor, top 20 pick in my opinion, but we'll see what happens with that. But now you got to replace them. But then you get Moten to stay. You get Blay to stay. You get your players, you get them to stay home. Now you lose a talent like Jojo Trader. That's probably has to do more with the Barkate thing. That is unfortunate, but really, what it comes down to, Miami fans are kind of looking at it from a CFB mindset, and I can know because I played the game. You're like you, JoJo Trader. If you played your my career mode, if you played a dynasty mode with Miami, by the second year, he was your go-to receiver in everyone. So I think that's what it really is with JoJo. Don't get me wrong. I think that it's been unfortunate. There were just unfortunate circumstances with what happened. I know he earned a spot, got into some trouble, got suspended, had to earn that spot back. The thing is, actions have consequences, and I think that's what it came to. But I also think it's telling that he is the only person that players are trying to get back, that Fitz was trying to get back, that Malachi Tony was like, "Hey, come back." I think that speaks to camaraderie that is amongst this group, and I do think Miami will miss him in a certain capacity. But at the same time, you have to be excited about what you get back and what you're getting in Cooper Barkade, and then what you get in Malachi Tony, and also then it opens up the floor for a monster like Joshua Moore, who showed flashes last year. And then you got Dylan Upshaw trying to come off injury. But the thing is, when he played great last year because he was able to flash during that 4-game winning streak to end the season. So you have to be really impressed and really excited about what this offense can be. But I haven't even talked about the biggest thing. The biggest thing I think that Mario Cristobal has done is self-evaluation after each year. And I think after wasting a Cam Moore's Heisman year, he have to look at what you evaluated. And he evaluated defense, and then he went out and got Corey Heatherman. And Corey Heatherman was a effing revelation. What he did and what impressed me most, the defensive line always had that ability in my opinion. Jason Taylor, I think, is the best defensive line coach in the country. I mean, I'm biased, of course. I'm a Dolphins fan. I love Jason Taylor. Will always love Jason Taylor. But I think his results speak for itself. But that being said, I think what Corey Heatherman did with the defensive backfield, with Keontae Scott, with Zachary Poyser, with Harris, with OJ Federic, with my God, the names go on and on and on. I think what he was able to do, he made Keontae Scott into a star. Someone who would have been a third finalist had he been able to finish the year. But the thing is, what he did, he played to his strengths. He played to the deep back strengths. Jacoby Thomas made All-American team. He played to all these guys' strengths. He put them in places that made the game simple, but made them killers. And I think doing that and making these ball hawks, it made dominating those last 4 games and showing the nation what Miami really was really, really easy. So I think that as long as Corey Heatherman is a defense coordinator and we're playing a Corey Heatherman type of defense, this team is going to be good because Shannon Dawson, no matter what you want to say about him, Shannon Dawson for the 3rd straight year has a top 25 offense with Miami. Yeah, that's right. I heard it right. 3rd straight year, top 25 offense, and one of those years is number 1 in almost every major category. This year was like top 15, top 20, even though it didn't feel like it. Now, the running game wasn't as consistent because it wasn't explosive, but during the playoffs, it was. This team has its identity. This team knows what it's going to be, and this team isn't going anywhere, in my opinion. What makes me excited about this is how I felt when the 2000s started. And I know I'm a lot older now. 25 years ago is a long time. But the thing is, I know more about the game now, and I know how to analyze it to see when a team is turning a corner. This feels like what Alabama was becoming before they became Alabama. Now, it will not be Alabama because no team will ever be Alabama again. The playing field is too even. NIL has made the playing field too even. Players will be leaving too often. Players won't be staying, in even I think Miami has shown amazing retention. Miami still lost a lot of talented players out to the portal. So the retention will not be there, and they're not going. I'm not going to sit here and say that Miami's about to win 7 national titles in a in a 13-year stretch. That's not going to happen. As much as I would love for that to happen, I think Miami is about to win a national championship in the next couple of years. I'm not sure if it's next year. I would love for it to be next year, but I do think it's before Malachi Tony leaves his campus because of how good the foundation is. You have 3 different quarterbacks the last 3 years, and you, like I said, a top 25 offense each time, and you've gotten better each time. A Heisman candidate goes to a career. Now, Carson Beck being a career college football player, yes, it is, but he's 41 yards away from a national championship. Check down to Malachi Tony away from a national championship. I don't think you can ask for more. And when it comes to it, especially when it's compared to what is going on up north other than us, Florida had a year that they really could write home about with 8-5, and then you go around and you go 4-8. Now I know a lot of that has to go with the fact that Lightweight was hurt, but at the same time, Florida had too much talent to be going 4-8. Miami had more SEC wins than Florida did last year. Let me say that again. Miami had more SEC wins, 3, than Florida did last year, 2, and 5 less chances. That's embarrassing. That's absolutely embarrassing for one of your main rivals for recruits to do that. And if y'all know me personally. A lot of y'all who know me personally know that I watch the channel. I got Florida in my blood. My dad is a Florida Gator. Plus, I root for the Gators when I'm not rooting for the Hurricanes, and I actually prefer Gators basketball to Canes basketball. So while Clay Jr. is the GOAT, so it disappoints me. And then like the fan base, I'm in a lot of rivalry groups. I hear a lot of things, and just kind of let's put it like this. I guess it's easier to focus on someone else's small flaws when you're ignoring the big flaws in your face. And that is definitely going to speak true for the next school I'm going to talk about, FSU. 7-17 since they gone 13-0. Well, if I'm being real, 7-18 were probably the most embarrassing bowl loss in school history. And Josh, Nick, y'all know I love you guys. I love you guys to death. But y'all be the first ones to say something has to change. And the fact that you had a chance, an outside chance at Lane Kiffin, and then you let it go because you wouldn't necessarily, you wanted him to commit without y'all committing. That is upsetting to me, because you're not going to get many coaching carousels like you have for this one, but you stay pat. Now Norvell's going to be taking over play calling for the next year. How do you have to feel about that? If I'm taking a temperature from the Canes versus Noel groups that I'm in, they're not very. They're. I don't think they have much confidence in it, because they speak more time talking about how we lost in our home stadium by 6 to probably the most disciplined team to ever grace a field than the fact that they've won 7 games and no road games in 2 years. But then again, if it was me, I'd probably do the same thing. And Cane fans have done the same thing. So I mean, rivalry is rivalry, but when it comes down to it, what makes football great, college football great, is when the 3 big schools of Florida are good. And right now, 2 are lagging. Fact of the matter is, Mario Cristobal called this out. He said, you want to look at the trajectory of what's going on. That's 2 straight years Miami has won the state title going away. Going away. Like, these games are not close when Miami plays another team from Florida. So this used to be what Florida State was doing about 5 years earlier than that. Well, actually, more like almost 10, because it's been a while for Florida. It was what Florida was doing. And if I'm being real, it's been about 10 years for about FSU. FSU has 2 winning seasons in 8 years. 2 winning seasons in 8 years. And the couple seasons before that weren't really anything to write home about either. So when it comes down to it, what is Florida State going to do to make things change? Miami had to get slapped in the face. Miami had to get told off by Kirk Herbstreit. It's going to take that for Florida State to turn around. Is Kirk Herbstreit going to have to hit y'all in the mouth and let y'all know and call out your whole university in front of the nation? I guess so. But anyways, moving on. As I can see, the State of the U, not trying to infringe upon this actual State of the U, but I came underwear and everything like that for my child. But the State of the U is very good. State of the other schools, not so much. Now, let's talk about the Heat. All right. As a fan, and I am a very staunch fan. I am the type of fan. I'm not going to stop being a fan. I was there during the late 90s when we were trying to build something with Tim Hardaway to Zoe. And then those lean years after that, when Zoe got the kidney disease, had to leave, and we were getting lottery picks left and right. Like, I cheer for them the year that we got the lottery pick for Dwayne Wade. I cheer for them the year that we won 15 games with Dwayne Wade being hurt. I will always cheer for them. But what happened yesterday, or basically the better way to put it, what didn't happen yesterday, has to concern you. And I know there are reports that Milwaukee wasn't really serious and they were looking to be blown away. And I know, and you have to talk about the BAM of it all. And then for me personally, I will say this. If they're trying to get Bam for Giannis, I can understand you not doing it to a certain extent. but you have got to offer everything else. So from what I heard too, Barry Jackson says they did offer everything else, which also says to me that the Bucks weren't as serious as they probably led people to believe, and maybe this goes into the offseason. But for me, I don't have any reason to believe that in the offseason is going to be any better for Miami. Yes, they're going to have more capital to offer, but so is a lot of other teams who are in that, including New York. So for me, it's disappointing because I thought the only way Miami was really going to be able to do it is if Milwaukee would have acquiesced during the trade deadline. And I'm talking about getting Giannis. I'm talking about the big whale that Miami has put off every other superstar search for. Even put off John Morant earlier this year, and then you hear that they could have been offered either Khalil Ware or Jaquez, and Terry Rozier's expiring contract for him and would have got him. And you have to say they say no. You have to be disappointed at that too. For me, the way the team has stagnated over the last couple months is literally like you look at it, it's been 19 and 19, this and this and this and this since their 14 and 7 start. They are, if I am not mistaken, 11. They are only 11 and 19, if I'm mistaken. And like if you look at the 5-game stretches that they've had since they've kind of got back when they fell down to 500, it's been 5-5, 5-5, 5-5, 5-5. They've been mediocre. It's one up, one down, one up, one down. This team is not known for being mediocre. We did one of the first podcasts we ever did. Before the first podcast we did to debut this channel was talking about who the best team in the East was, and to be real, it was Miami. That is no longer the case. Miami is no longer the beast of the East. I think Miami still has the most rings, which is amazing and everything. I think it still is only second in wins to Boston, but what Boston has been able to do in the last 5 years really has surpassed what Miami has been doing, and it's disappointing. I hate Boston. We all hate Boston. We don't want Boston to be better than us in anything. What we've been able to boast of them is that we have been able to hold now not an overall title thing, but since really Dwayne Wade has come into this century, Miami has been the best East team. It's not that way anymore. And even with this mediocrity, 4 years in the play-in for a coach of Eric Spoelstra's ilk is absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. And in 2 of those years you have Jimmy. All 4 you got Bam and Tyler Hero. I mean, Tyler Hero's Tyler Hero. You can say what you want, but he's been an all-star. He scores 25 points a game. You got another big score 20 a game. So for you, that's 45 points right there. What is going on? So, and now this team is like still top 5 in score, but now they can't stop anybody. Now they can't. After halftime, they're losing leads and everything. It's like the lack of focus has been there. Norman Powell has been great, and he deserves his all-star appearance, in my opinion. And, Bam struggled, but then Bam comes back with like 2 Eastern Conference Player of the Week out of 3. But it doesn't change anything. Miami is still where it's at in the standings. It hasn't moved up a spot. At one point, it moved back to 7th, then lost Orlando, and right back to 8th. It's been in 8th for about a month and a half. And you have to believe if you're stagnant, how are you the only Eastern team that doesn't make a move? People were saying, "Oh, they're going to lose a lot of fans." I posted back, "No, they've already lost them." Ajax is on his channel saying that he couldn't be a Heat fan if he saw no more progress, and he didn't. He went off yesterday, and I don't blame him. I can't blame him. I can't placate. I cannot make excuses for Pat anymore. For me, Pat is going to be untouchable. That doesn't change anything. But am I going to defend him after this? I can't. You can't. Because he stayed pat, no pun intended, at the one time where the one person that you have put off everything for, you said no. You said no to Kyrie Irving. You said no to James Harden. You said no to Bradley Beal. You said no to Damian Lillard. You didn't put all this forward because in your mind you thought Giannis was going to become available and you want to do that for it. So when he becomes available, what do? It looks like you did nothing. So how can you justify that to the fan base? How would the fan base still want to come out? How do you keep your sellout streak now? How do you do it? Well, I don't know. I guess we'll just have to see what happens in the offseason. Because I can tell you this, Miami's not going to be playing into June. I can guarantee one thing. at probably around my birthday, May 4th, around that time, that's when Miami's going to be going on. Because I have no doubt they'll win in the play-in. They're the most successful team in the play-in. But that's not something to write home about. And that is the state of the fandom. Hey, appreciate y'all for listening. Comment, subscribe, share. Do you agree with me? Do you not? Do you see hope in the tunnel for Miami? Are you excited about where Miami is at, or do you have more doubt about where the Hurricanes are at? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you don't like Cristobal. Maybe you don't like what it is. Maybe you feel like that commentator who's been taking shots at Miami and the fan base for a while. Whatever. But hey, we appreciate y'all. Awful 99th is out. We'll be back probably with a podcast talking about the NBA playoffs in a month or so. I will be doing these little things every week, trying to keep us positive, trying to keep us going. We love you guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. Bye.